Welcome everyone to an episode of Pros and Cons.
I'm Scarlet.
I'm Derek.
I don't know how to... What do we do?
You
Find our flow.
Welcome everyone to Pros and Cons.
I'm Scarlet.
I'm Derek.
Today we are reviewing... ACOTAR. ACOTAR Book 1. Here we go.
Book 1.
Pros and Cons.
Yeah, Pros and Cons. How this is going to work is we're going to go through certain categories and rank what we think those categories deserve. But first, we're going to do our beloved spoiler-free section.
Yes.
Just kind of give a pitch for the book and no spoilers. So, do you want to start off with what the pitch would be for ACOTAR?
Yeah. Okay. ACOTAR is obviously crazy popular. Everyone knows about it. But if you don't, it is a book about fairies, about love.
Period. I'm in.
About adventure, about hunting boys. It is fantasy, romantasy. It's romantasy.
A lot of people equate this to a retelling of Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, totally.
I could see that. I don't think that's exactly what you're going to get. There's no little clock or candle singing, which was my favorite part. But you do get smut.
It's not as cute, yeah. It's like...
Yeah, that's our pitch. I hope that makes you want to read the book.
Should we give like a little synopsis? The synopsis?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. The book is about Feyre. Fairy.
Fairy, as some know her.
Yeah, no. Okay, Feyre is a huntress, and she is in the human world. She lives with her really mean sister, and her really nice sister, and her dad, who just is no good, I guess. Nah.
Nah, he's alright. He's not that bad.
Yeah, she's a huntress, and she needs to feed her family, so she goes into the woods. She finds this big wolf. That would be the perfect
Asher,
time.
now's the time to perk up.
Asher.
We'll throw in a little clip of him just...
Yeah. Big wolf.
Big wolf.
In the forest. And I don't know if I need to go that deep into... She starts in the human world, and then she ends up in the fairy world. Adventures occur.
Yes.
Relationships develop. Drama. Secrets. What's going on in this world is happening under the surface.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to move into spoiler section?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's spoil this book.
Let's spoil it. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of ACOTAR. All right. First category is presentation.
Presentation. Let's see. I love the presentation.
So, I do remember that this series was released before with, like, the weird covers with, like, real people like that. I don't know who was buying those. If that's you, shame on you.
Whoa.
No, but I think there was a big rebranding with these books, and I think crushed it.
Yeah.
Like the colorway of the whole series, and how they all have similar but different.
I think it's bold to start with orange. Like that's, I guess the last one's orange. This one's kind of scarlet.
It's kind of made for you.
But I think it's very fun, and I think I don't know if it's reminiscent of the book. What do you think? I mean, we have the guy on the front.
Yeah.
And we got the arrow, but
yeah,
I would be confused.
It doesn't really tell you what the book's about. I think actually the real people on the cover is more accurate of this book.
But I don't like those.
I don't like those either, but I think the content of the book kind of matches that. Okay. This made it a little bit more generalized, and I think that was a big reason why these books took off.
Yeah, I think it's great.
So,
also, we're mostly going to be talking as a one-off. Obviously, it's a series.
Yeah.
I've read the series. Derek has not.
Actually, I just read the first book.
I haven't read the whole series. I haven't gotten to the chunkamunka at the end.
Sure.
But I've read almost all of the series. So it that changes the, what you know about it. But we're going to try and just do like a one-off.
No, I think it's good. It's this perspective of I only have bias towards the first book, and you kind of have maybe... I know they get better.
Yeah,
they get a lot better. So you probably will have a better bias.
For sure.
For this first book. Okay, so presentation, what score are you going to give it?
Wait, it's out of 10. We're doing out of 10.
Yeah.
I think I'll give the presentation like a solid 6.
6? Cool.
6.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not far off. I gave the presentation a 7.
Okay.
I think the presentation alone is carrying a lot of this, why it's so popular. I do think presentation matters.
Bright colors.
And I think they killed it with this.
Yeah.
I think it's like almost like a logo for them at this point.
Totally.
It stands out. So good job, Sarah J. Maas. Presentation. Okay. Next category. Characters. So we have.
Okay.
Let's recap some of like maybe the top 5 characters, right?
Yeah.
So obviously.
Feyre,
main girl.
Mm-hmm.
She's. Well, how would you describe her?
To be honest, I'm annoyed by her. Hard to do, I think, the archetype of her character in like a likable way, which again,
I don't know.
The farther
Fourth Wing, where are you at?
Whoa, we're not there. I think like farther in the series, you develop more of a soft spot for Feyre because you learn more about her, obviously. But I think just in ACOTAR, I'm like, she's kind of annoying. She's kind of like, I don't know where the painting comes in. Like, she's like, I love to paint, but it doesn't really fit anywhere. And I don't know if that fits in the character. She seems a little bit two-dimensional.
Okay. Yeah.
And like I said, it gets better, so she gets better. But I think just for this book, like, she's...
Ooh, thumbs down.
You know.
She's a thumbs down character.
Yeah.
Okay. I had similar opinions. I think, again, it's hard to make one of these characters likable. But I think what really got me is that she's constantly told what to do, and she does the opposite of absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And that's what's a driver of the entire book. And it's just like, it got to the point where if somebody told her not to do something, I'm like, oh, that's what she's doing next.
Yeah, it is kind of the classic like scary movie, like,
don't go in the closet.
And it's like, all right.
Yeah. So she was not a great character overall. I imagine she gets better throughout the series.
She does.
Okay, let's move into
the boys.
I think the boys, three boys that we'd want to go through.
Yeah,
go for it. Give me the review of Tamlin.
Okay, Tamlin, series wise, there's more going on. It gets more complicated, but just in this one, I think it's like he's a classic at the front, like good guy, but he has the power dynamics and is like, I'm in charge, like, I'm good, but, like, don't cross the line. And it's like, ooh, but, okay, I get what you're going for, just, like, the big, strong man, and he's, like, gonna take control and take care of her and whatever. So it's like, if you're into that, great. I'm not, but...
You aren't swooning over Tamlin?
Also, he's blonde, so...
Oh, shots at all blondes.
Yeah, no, you understand.
Hey, I got your back, blondes. No. I got one myself.
Well, okay. Yeah, so he's...
Yeah, I think he's very one-dimensional. He's very, I'm always here, I'm always a little bit angry and worried about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And just, like, the weird desire for Feyre throughout, I'm just like, do you like her? Why are you weird? Like...
Yeah.
Like, and, like, him at the festival part where he's, like, can't control himself.
Yeah,
This is a weird premise. Like,
yeah,
maybe it's for some people, but I thought that was
like,
weird.
I get what they're going for, but it felt a little, like, it felt a little icky.
It gave motive at, like, the expense of the character, I think, or, like, to progress the story, but it made the character seem so creepy.
Yeah, a little creepy under.
Yeah.
Ooh,
another thumbs down.
Next.
0 for 2.
Lucian.
Lucian's, I think, the saving grace of this book.
Yeah, I love Lucian.
Yeah, so I think Lucian is kind of the heart of the book. He's like the comedic relief of the book, kind of, in a way. It just, when he's in the scene, I know he's gonna bring some lightness to it, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
things won't be too weird.
yeah, and he's like, I mean, totally, I get SJM. She's going for the fox, right? Like the mask and the eye and the coloring. And it's like he's kind of got that clever fox, cunning, silly undertone to him, which I think was really clever. So I really liked that. And yeah, I think he just kind of releases the tension, because there's always that tension between Tamlin and Feyre of like, everything's really serious and everything is like high stakes, and Lucian comes in and it's like, it's not that bad.
I agree. Yeah. So nice.
Yeah.
Good job, Lucian.
Way to go. Way to be.
What?
Way to be.
Yeah, way to be. Lastly, we have Rhys.
Rhys.
Thoughts on Rhys?
Again, I have read more books.
Yeah, he doesn't get a ton of spotlight in
He's
this one.
He's a small character
it's more of
in
an
this.
introduction to him. Yeah.
It is. So I feel like I can't speak too much about him because for those who have read the other ones, they know all about him. And I'm like, we understand what we're talking about. So I'm going to just give this to you as someone who just knows him from this book.
I mean, he's definitely an intriguing character. Sarah J. Maas wrote him in a way, it's like, oh, I want to know more about him. I'm curious, at least in his storyline. I liked him more than I liked Tamlin. I thought Tamlin was just so boring.
Yeah, he's definitely got like the swagger.
Yeah, he's got the edge to him, you know. Mm-hmm. So
the favorite darling.
I thought he was he didn't get a lot of light in this book, which would make sense. But because there's so little, it's like it's hard to really have him boost the character rating.
Totally.
So let's give it a rating. Go ahead. Characters, what is your score out of 10?
Overall. I was going to give my Reese a thumbs up, but...
Oh, sure, yeah, sorry. Reese, I'll give you sideways because I don't know enough about you. I'm just getting to know you.
Okay, characters out of 10. I think I'm going to go with a...
Now he shows up.
Hey, Woofy.
There's the wolf.
I'm going to go with a 7, I think.
7 for characters?
I think.
Wow. We were not in the same boat on this one.
Maybe I think I'm
no,
just...
I mean, that's valid.
I'm just thinking about the series, so like, it gets better.
No, but that's exactly what we want to go for. There's bias because of the
series.
There's
bias because of the
You've
series.
had more time with the characters.
It's true. They get
just
better.
based
on this one. It's
first book, for me, I gave it a low score. I gave it a 3. Yeah. I mean, if the two main characters are bad, and the only saving grace is the side character, I do not... I was not continuing to read because of the characters. I was honestly kind of just chugging through, like, I just want to be done with this book.
Yeah, okay.
So the characters were no good. Now we are moving on to the world. The world of...
Prythian.
Yes. Prythian, I forgot the name of it.
Love the name.
Yeah, it's a good name. What do you think about the world?
I'm into it. I love the different courts. I think it's fun that they've got, the solar courts... The seasonal courts, I like that. I like the map. I love a map in a book.
Oh, I love a map.
I mean,
if you put a map, it's already bumping that world rating so much.
Yeah,
and it's a good map. And it's a good map, too. There can be bad maps, too much going on, or just confusing. Great map. Okay, world. I mean, yeah, there's not a lot to say. I mean, you kind of crushed it, covering it. There's not much more to say to it.
Yeah, I think, well, again, I know how many times I'm going to say this, like the series dives into each of the different courts. You get to know the world a little bit more, which I think
kind of only get the spring court in this one.
Right.
So from what you know of the world, what do you think? What would you rate it out of 10?
I quite like the world. I think it's probably a 7, yeah.
Wow, yeah, 7? I felt the same. I gave the world an 8. I think the world carries this whole... I mean, this book, but I'd imagine the series. Like, the world is what kept me reading. Because I was like, this is different than anything I've ever read.
Yeah, I think that also the emphasis on, I forget the word now, but like the magic element is this animal tied situation, which I really like.
Yeah.
How like their power is like, Tamlin is like this animal and Lucian is like that animal. I like that. I think that's very cool.
Now let's move on to the meat of the sandwich here, the plot. What do you think of the plot?
I think most of this book dragged on. I think Feyre being in the spring court, just living day to day, doing her little paintings.
That was a drag.
All right.
That was a drag.
Yeah, I think that the big shift obviously came once she went under the mountain, and then
even
all
parts
that stuff happened.
Even like the going through each trial, I was like, oh my gosh, just have it be one thing and just get on with it. I mean, I think I was exhausted by that point of just how much I've read and how like little had actually happened. The first 3/4 of the book is just her sitting in that house.
Also, I thought that it wasn't super cohesive. I think that I liked the part under the mountain because it was like adventurous and like higher stakes and wow, what's going on? It's confusing, these trials, but it didn't really fit with the first.
No, yeah, it felt like a hard break from the rest of the book. I was not expecting that.
No, not at all. Yeah. And I was like, wait, what's going on? Like, why are they in this other world?
Confusing.
And that, I don't even think with the rest of the books, it doesn't really make sense. Like, obviously going through it and doing the trials, defeating her, becoming Fae, whatever. Obviously that's pivotal for the rest of the books, but like the actual being under the mountain and doing these trials and whatever still feels just kind of tangential.
Yeah, super big vibe shift, and just no longer the romance, and it got kind of dark and just grittier and just weird.
Which I liked.
I agree,
it just didn't feel
It was
cohesive.
a shock. It was just kind of like, oh, that's where this story's heading. I had no idea where the story was heading, and then when it got to that, I was like, that's not what I expected. Yeah. So what would you give that out of 10?
Ooh, probably like a 5.
5? Yeah. I was around the same boat. I gave it a 4. I think if I'm continuing to read it, if I finish it, if I don't DNF it, it's like automatically above a 2, but not much higher. Yep. Cool. All right. Quick one, but what did you think of the prose? How the book was written?
I liked it. I thought it was pretty easy to read. It was like I didn't notice it, actually. Yeah. I think that's the way to put it.
But I think that's a skill in itself.
It totally is. Yeah.
I think there's certain books where it reads so much like how we talk. Yeah. That you just breeze through it.
Yeah, it's easy to read. Yeah, super. But you don't notice that it's like incredible. You don't notice that it's bad. It's just kind of like almost like your own. It's like autopilot, just consumption. Yeah. I feel like. What's the mental? Your monologue, your inner monologue.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. I've read books I think that go quicker. I think like The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo reads incredibly quick. Verity. Yeah. But I've also read books with insanely better prose. The Will of the Many. Yeah. The best prose I've read. So definitely. I think it's pretty middle ground. What would you give it out of 10?
Yeah, middle ground 5.
5. Mm-hmm. 5 across the board. I think there is skill in making it easy to read. That I gave it a 6. Yeah. All right, last one. Wildcard round.
Ooh, wildcard.
And this is tough because it's fantasy, but it's also romantasy. Right. And I think since it's romantasy, we have to give the wildcard rating to the spice level. Spice level out of 10.
It wasn't that spicy.
It was not. Based on what I've heard about this series. Yeah. I was like, oh, it was just kind of one scene.
Right? Yeah.
Like, it was not the focus of the book. It was like a
chapter. No, it was super aside. Yeah. Yeah, like not anything crazy. Again, you get farther into the series, there's more. But this book, the spice level was
I feel like it was so
maybe
whatever.
A 6.
It was so middle of the road.
A little bit. But
yeah. I gave it a 5.
Okay. Yeah.
So, your out of 10 total book review. Moving into final review. Final review. Scarlet's final review.
6. 6 out of 10.
Yes.
Got it. And I feel good with that.
Yeah, honestly, mine was super close. If I did the math, like actually, it came out to 5.5 out of 10. We'll round up. Okay. Gave it a 6 out of 10.
Nice.
Overall, solid book. From a guy's perspective, it's pretty rough. I think you need to really dive into the fantasy elements. I think the romance is just weird in this one. I think there's other romances that you should start with. I thought Fourth Wing's romance was more digestible. This was just like kind of hardcore weird fairy romance. So I think that aspect of it is rough. But I think the story overall, it's easy to read and it is at least entertaining. It feels kind of like a Lifetime movie or like something on the CW. I think the CW is a great way to put it.
What's the CW?
Like it's one of those channels like Riverdale or like one of those. Yeah. It feels like that. So it's like if you can get behind that, then I think you'd enjoy it. If you're more into like the hardcore fantasy world, I think it's pretty light and maybe not your cup of tea. I mean, it's better than the middle of the road from both of us.
Agree.
Do you want to give like a girl's perspective or kind of your taste perspective?
I think all the ladies have read this book. It's really popular, so obviously you know the gist, but I think what you said was pretty much applicable. Like it's, it's good. It does feel a little bit like, everyone's reading it, kind of Hallmarky. Yeah. But I mean, fascinating, worth a read for sure. And I think if you read it and then you get into the series, that's good. Like the second book is like
way better.
Yeah. So it's like once you get through this book, then it gets better.
Yeah, I left this book and then I DNF'd the second one like right away because I mean right away, so I didn't even get into it.
No, he didn't get into it.
But I didn't even want to give it a chance because I really didn't love this one.
Yeah, I think you need to get through it, but if you do and you get to Akamath, that's really good.
Then we'll talk.
This was Pros and Cons.
This was Pros and Cons of Avatar. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.
Yes. Cut. Take.
Peace.